Welcome into You Can See Los Angeles, California. I'm Bill Reiter. This is Reiter's Block presented by Stefan versus the Game on Facebook Watch. And if you were watching last night, you know the New Orleans Pelicans are about to have Zion Williamson. We're going to dive into that and why David Griffin, their new GM, has to trade Anthony Davis. Jim Bowden's going to be on the show, break down some of the latest around Major League Baseball. And a very special friend, Jay Cutler, is back. That and more starts right now on CBS Sports HQ.
Grizzlies.
Let the cheers rain down. It is a big deal in the Big Easy, and we all know what that remarkable 6% chance coming through means for that Pelicans organization and for New Orleans. Zion Williamson is yours. Congratulations. You can see here all the things you get in Zion the player. 23 points per game, 9 rebounds, couple assists, ridiculous field goal, shooting percentage, 3-point shot. Not bad. We talked to Isaiah Thomas yesterday on the show about what a marketing bonanza he's going to be now for that team, a cornerstone to build around. So David Griffin, the GM in New Orleans, a guy I know pretty well, did I thought a really great job, obviously NBA champion when he was in Cleveland. Take a deep breath, enjoy the moment, pretend you're going to try to work it with Anthony Davis, and then trade that dude. It is absolutely time. You have a cornerstone now. You have a guy you can build around who wants to be there and hasn't been soiled by the petulance and put-out behavior and attitude of AD with the team that drafted him. It is time to move on from the brow. And just a refresher, because I understand what you're saying. You're like, Reiter, the guy's so talented. Let's pair Zion and AD together. It ain't going to happen. Anthony Davis isn't staying. His agent, Clutch Sports, which is the same agency that represents LeBron James, isn't going to keep him in that market. It is time to move on. And remember, we had all these things that went wrong after Anthony Davis and his agent very ham-fistedly, very amateurishly decided to announce to the world via a reporter Anthony Davis wants to be gone. And after the ridicule that AD deserved, by the way, he wears the "that's all folks" shirt. He advertises how put out he is. There's rumors left and right. It was a circus. It was ugly. And on Anthony Davis's part, it was downright disrespectful to his teammates to the point that Alvin Gentry, the head coach, who is a very player-friendly guy, described his organization, or at least the trade rumors around it, unfortunately, this way.
To tell you the truth, this whole thing has been a dumpster fire, and it's just hard, for guys. We want guys to be professional and we want them to do this, but it's hard for guys, to go through what they've been through.
Dumpster fire from the head coach. Dumpster fire. We want guys to be professional. A little translation machine on the fly for you. As in Anthony Davis, you're not a professional. We saw AD shut it down, didn't care, put out. You can't have that around Zion. And here's the important part. And I understand that David Griffin has said and is going to say, and we'll get to more of him in a second, that he's going to try to keep AD. That's the priority. That's what the new general manager in New Orleans has to say for a couple of reasons. One, he's got to manage up with his new owner and look like somebody who's at least going to give it the old college try. And two, and I've talked to Griff about this before, David Griffin was the GM in Cleveland. He got elevated when his GM got fired. David was the number 2 at the time. Elevated the GM spot before we knew LeBron was going back. Was able, and this wasn't as public a schism with the organization, but was able to talk Kyrie Irving into sticking around at a time when a lot of people around the NBA thought when Kyrie's deal was up, he was gone, that he wasn't interested in an extension. So I understand that Griff has some experience in a market that has trouble retaining superstars, talking a superstar into sticking around. But at least at that point, Kyrie handled his business privately, and he was a professional. You certainly can't say the same for Anthony Davis, which means Griff is going to have to take this opportunity, and it is a godsend to do what he's got to do and move on from AD. And before I sort of get into why, I want to give you, and he's trying to hold back the enthusiasm, but this is David Griffin, that GM, last night after he realized he's got the number 1 overall pick.
We're going to be attracting best-in-class individuals. It's what we want to do, and it's what we want to be about. And this is certainly representative of that, right? I mean, it's something that we certainly are grateful for.
It's a great clip. It's a great line. I like Griff. That was for a message of one. He was talking to his owner right there. The reality is he's got to move on from Anthony Davis. And now that they have a cornerstone in Zion, because if you don't have that pick, it is hard in New Orleans. It just is, and I love the city, to bring in a generational player. You're not going to recruit them. We've seen Chris Paul go away, Anthony Davis trying to go away. Smaller markets, that market, whatever you think about it as a city, has trouble bringing those guys in, retaining those guys, let alone bringing them in. You don't need to worry about that now. You have a cornerstone you can build around. You have a franchise player. You have a once-in-a-generation talent in Zion. There's no reason to poison the well and bring in Anthony Davis's off-putting perspective on this group, on this team, in that locker room, and add it to the mix with Zion. We saw what happens when LeBron's put out with his guys. We saw what happens when Kyrie's put out with his guys. And that's with veteran teams in some cases. LeBron's team younger. It does not work. Move on from Anthony Davis. And there's a few, I think, possible scenarios here. AD, by the way, betting favorite not to be with the Pelicans next year because Vegas sees what I see. There's 4 teams Anthony Davis has said he'll go to. The Clippers, the Bucks, the Lakers, and the Knicks. Okay, let's go through them really quickly. Clippers, not enough assets, not going to work. Knicks, again, that number 3 pick, not enough, and there's no one on that roster. They already traded Kristaps Porzingis for a bag of Skittles. Not enough to go and get a generational player, even on a one-year loaner like Anthony Davis. It's not going to be New York. The Bucks are interesting, I suppose, that he's on the list. We'll see what happens, but Milwaukee's probably going to make an NBA Finals. Who knows? Maybe they'll win an NBA Finals. They have a lot of guys whose contracts are up. That doesn't make sense. The Lakers do. Certainly David Griffin could and should go to the Boston Celtics and say to Danny Ainge, look, man, it's got to be Jason Tatum. He's got to be the centerpiece of a trade. He's got to be part of the deal along with a lot of things that you send back. And maybe Danny Ainge, who's certainly the boldest, the most gamble-heavy GM in the game, would go for that move. It's in the realm of possibilities. But it's the Lakers, and I'll speak from some sourcing perspective here, having talked to sources here in Los Angeles over the last month since I moved back, where I think David Griffin can get an absolute haul. The reality is that not only is there panic in Los Angeles, the level you can see, the ugliness, Magic walking away, can't land Ty Lue, who's in charge, is Kurt Rambis the power behind the throne, but it's more than that. Jeannie Buss, talking to sources, is starting to feel the absolute panic of the reality that she's now to blame. She's now on the hook in this city for letting this organization down. It's one thing to be able to blame her brother Jim and then eventually fire him. It's another to be in the firing line yourself, and it's weighing on Jeannie Buss to the point she is looking for any win, any narrative change, anything that she can call a victory. Same for Rob Pelinka, the embattled general manager. And LeBron James, we know, doesn't like playing with young guys. He wants veterans. And David Griffin's going to know that. David Griffin has a good relationship with LeBron. He has a good relationship with Rich Paul, who is LeBron's agent. He's going to be aware of the massive leverage. You go to the Lakers, and they're jumping up to that 4 spot, makes it more enticing. David Griffin can do business with this organization in a way Dell Demps wouldn't. And you say to Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, I want Lonzo, I want Brandon Ingram, I want Josh Hart, I want Kyle Kuzma. And you can see Ingram, Kuzma, and Ball. It's a nice collection of young guys if you're building them around Zion Williamson. And I want that number 4 overall pick and whatever else they want. Because the bad blood, and it was unacceptable the way that LeBron and Clutch Sports and the Lakers tried to, let's be honest, meddle in a way that violates the rules and get Anthony Davis. New GM, new era, new situation, and big difference. All those guys that we showed you coming back, Ingram, Ball, whoever they drafted for, whatever the kid, Kuzma, nice players, not cornerstones. You've got a cornerstone in Zion Williamson. That is the move. It's what has to happen. You heard it here on Writer's Block first. Forget talk about AD pairing with Zion. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. Anthony Davis isn't sticking around. But David Griffin's gift isn't just Zion Williamson. It's now the leverage and the political capital to go take Anthony Davis and move him. Get that offer from the Lakers, run it around the league, run up the price, and get a haul to build around your once-in-a-generation talent in Zion, who doesn't have the option to go somewhere else. Congratulations, Pelicans. Congratulations, David Griffin. And congratulations, Anthony Davis. You're probably going to get your wish. those ping pong balls bounce your way, buddy, Brow, as much as anyone else's. We got a lot to hit. We're gonna hit some baseball with Jim Bowden. We've got a very special return from Smokin Jay Cutler, which is always a pleasure. And of course, we're gonna preview tonight's Eastern Conference Showdown, Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Raptors and the Bucks. It's all coming up on Reiter's Block with me, Bill Reiter, from, as you can see, Los Angeles, California, in just a moment. Welcome back into Reiter's Block, presented by Stefan versus the Game on Facebook. Watch on Bill Reiter from Los Angeles, California. I also host a radio show, and we have a lot of guests that roll through there. We appreciate all of them, but I say constantly on the air before and after our next guest joins us that Jim Bowden, CBS Sports HQ, MLB analyst, former GM Executive of the Year, is by far the best of the bunch. So it's awesome to have him here on this show, my colleague here at HQ. Jim, thanks for making time, man.
Bill, love being on your show. As you know, nothing better than Reiter's Block.
Appreciate you. So let's start with Bryce Harper. For those of us that have him on our fantasy teams, for just baseball fans out there, Philly fans, are you a little bit concerned? Should we be a little bit concerned? Or is Bryce Harper going to figure out how to get back to that place that we expected when he got this massive contract?
He'll figure out how to get back. I mean, the problem with Bryce Harper in his career is he's always had these big slumps. Remember that time with the Nationals when Joe Madden walked him every at-bat and then he didn't hit for a month? I mean, he's gone through these things. And the reason he goes through it is he has so many moving parts in his mechanics. And when he gets off, sometimes he has a hard time getting back. And the reason he has so many moving parts is because his bat speed is so ridiculously fast that a lot of times he has to slow himself down in order to get to the ball properly. But right now, as you can see in these videos here, he doesn't have any balance whatsoever. What he needs to do is spread out his legs a little bit, be calmer, and go short to the ball. Look at his head angle on that swing right there. I mean, he's just far off from when he's going good, and now it's up to the Phillies, who really don't know Bryce. He's got a new hitting coach that's trying to learn him, but they got to figure out when he's going good what he looks like mechanically, and they got to be able to sit there and continue to work on getting him back there. Bryce will get hot, and when he does, Bill, your fantasy team will climb up the standings. When he gets hot, he'll show people why he's getting over $300 million.
All right, I'm not going to overreact. I'm going to hang with him. I'm in an on-base percentage league, so that at least helps a little bit. And speaking, Jim, of overreactions, a lot of doubters, or at least a lot of talk about how much the Red Sox were struggling early in the season, how Chris Sale's velocity was down. Well, the Red Sox have been playing pretty good baseball, and Chris Sale had a ridiculous outing, 17 Ks in just 7 innings. What do we take away from that outing, and what do you make of the Red Sox going forward in what's obviously a very long baseball season?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, look, we're going to have a great race between the Rays, Yankees, and Red Sox, and I expect all 3 teams to be in the race through September as they head into October. I mean, Chris Sale completely back. He would have broken the record last night with strikeouts had they left him in the game. They did the right thing to take him out, but he was 93, topped out at 96 miles an hour. But it was all about real estate, right? It was location, location, location. He owned the black on the inside part of the plate. He owned the black on the outside part of the plate. And that slider, whether it be the front door slider or the back foot slider like you just saw right there, I mean, it's special. And he's an ace, and he's a 1. And why did he get off to a slow start? Because the Red Sox backed off all their starting pitchers with the idea of we need to keep him sharp for October. So he didn't start his first game till the 15th of March. So, he goes 6 weeks from there. That's why a lot of these Red Sox starters didn't get going until the 1st of May.
Not that far away from the anniversary of that Kerry Wood outing where he had, 20 Ks. Remember where I was when I watched it. And speaking of Kerry Wood's Cubs, many years later, they're the hottest team in baseball. They're playing really well. Lester's having this incredible start. And it really hasn't started to get that warm in Chicago yet, where the wind starts to blow out and you expect the bats to heat up. We've seen Chris Bryant in particular play really well the last week or so. For your money, Jim, are the Cubs hands down the best team in the National League? Or is that doing a disservice to teams like the Dodgers and whoever I'm leaving off the list?
Yeah, I think it's Cubs are 1A and the Dodgers are 1B. And the reason I put the Cubs over the Dodgers is I love their starting rotation 1 to 4. And in that starting rotation, you got the 3 left-handers, Lester, Hamels, and Quintana. And if they were to match up to the Dodgers in the NLCS, those 3 lefties, the Dodgers are better against right-handed starters than they are left-handed starters. So I think that's the only difference right now. But the Cubs are for real. You know, Contreras is having that comeback year. Chris Bryant's finally healthy. He's hitting like an MVP again. This lineup is really good, top to bottom. Javier Baez will be an MVP candidate when it's all said and done at the end of the year. And they're a very good defensive team, especially when Hayward and Almora are in the outfield there. So Chicago's for real. I still think they need to do some work in the bullpen. And I have a lot of confidence that Theo Epstein, their president, will improve the bullpen. In fact, when I asked him about it the other day, he told me it'll be a transactional bullpen, which made me smile and laugh because that means you're going to see guys come up from the minors. You're going to see them make trades. But that's the one area of the team the Cubs probably need to improve if they want to get back to the World Series.
Jim, you mentioned that American League East race, how much fun it's going to be. The Rays playing great baseball. They played great baseball at the end of the MLB season last year. The Twins are playing really well. With both those teams, how do you see the staying power for each of them, given their individual, their unique situations in terms of their divisions?
Well, the Twins are the team to beat in the AL Central because the Indians' offense just isn't good enough, and the injuries to Corey Kluber and Mike Clevenger brings them back to the pack. Minnesota Twins are third in baseball in home runs, and that's probably not going to change. They got a lot of power in the lineup, top to bottom, and they're in the weakest division in baseball, so you get to play 18 or 19 times against the White Sox and against the Royals and against the Tigers, and that's going to really help them. So they're the team to beat. They're in a solid position. How far they go will depend upon if Martin Perez can continue what he's doing in their rotation. Same thing with Jake Odorizzi. Can Michael Pineda continue to get better as the season progresses? But the Twins are for real. They're the team to beat. Now, in terms of Tampa, I think Tampa belongs in the conversation. Look, the Astros are the best team in the league, but the Rays are in the conversation with the Yankees and with the Red Sox. The injury to Tyler Glasnow certainly is a huge setback. That would be like Boston losing Sale, or in the Yankees' case, they've already lost Severino. But he was their ace. He was the pitcher of the month in the American League in the month of April. So shutting him down for 4 to 6 weeks really is a setback for them and brings them back to the pack with Boston and New York. But the exciting part about Tampa is they got a couple of pitching prospects coming, including left-hander Brendan McKay, who right now is a Double-A. I won't be surprised if he comes up in the second half and is a difference maker. But I think Tampa's got a chance to stay around the whole year. They got a chance to win the division, or if not, get one of the wild cards.
Jim, last one for you. We know the hype, the expectations, the pressure behind and on and attached to Vlad Guerrero Jr., that 2-home-run game, a reminder of how good he can be. For you, in a world of hyperbole, how legit is the hype? What is this young player's actual ceiling?
You know, I can't stand when people see a prospect come up and they blow the guy out of proportion. He's going to be this or that. So let me tell you what Guerrero's going to be. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to win MVP awards. He's going to win Silver Slugger awards. We're going to get to cover him in All-Star games. He's as good as advertised. Okay, this isn't embellishing. This bat is that special. He got off to a slow start, so a lot of people started to doubt. About 3 games ago, the bat speed came back. About 3 days ago, he settled in. And then last night, he showed us what he can do with the 2 home runs that he had. This guy's going to hit. He's capable of being a 330 type hitter, or 40% on base guy. He's got a chance to hit 30 home runs or more. This is one of the best hitting prospects that has hit baseball since Mike Trout arrived, or before that, Albert Pujols arrived. He's a special bat. Don't worry about the slow start. He's going to be impact. I just hope he stays in condition. I hope the Toronto Blue Jays work him very hard in the gym, in the weight room, to continue to lose weight, improve flexibility, because that's the one area I'm a little bit concerned as he ages. It won't be a problem for the next 4 or 5 years, but down the road, it's a problem if they don't take care of his weight and his health.
Jim Bowden, as always, man, you make us smarter for being on the show. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Bill.
Great stuff by Jim, as always. All right, before we sign off, we have a cover from last night's Western Conference Finals opener to brag about, and we got to preview tonight's Eastern Conference Finals opener by going inside the numbers on that Raptors-Bucks matchup. It's coming up here on the program. Riders Block from Los Angeles, California, in just a minute. All All right, welcome back into the show. Reiter's Block presented by Stefan versus the Game on Facebook Watch. And speaking of the NBA, a little Eastern Conference action tonight. Bucks are hosting the Raptors in Game 1 of the conference finals out east. We're going to go inside the numbers on that showdown. Let me start at the number 138. The Bucks have outscored their opponents by a total of 138 points this postseason. That is the third highest scoring margin through a team's first 9 playoff games in NBA history. Next up is 45. If Milwaukee wins Game 1 tonight, it'll be their 5th straight postseason win. That will be their longest winning streak in the playoffs in 45 years when they won 6 straight all the way back in 1974. 30-10, as in Kawhi Leonard, over on the Toronto side, is averaging a career-high 32 points this postseason. He's only the 6th player to average 30 or more points in their first 10 playoff games in a single year. How about 243? Kawhi had 243 points in the conference semifinals against Philly. That's the 3rd most in a series post-merger, behind Michael Jordan and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Obviously, that's pretty good company. And finally, 4-1. Despite losing 3 of 4 to Milwaukee this season, the Raptors have done well covering the spread, specifically against the Bucks. They're 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 games on the road playing Milwaukee. Game of Thrones fans, I'm with you, right? You're feeling all the feels, a little emotional after Sunday's episode. There's only one left, and we're going to honor that wonderful, wonderful show and this wonderful game. It's called basketball, NBA basketball, by again revisiting our segment. We're going to give you 4 trial-by-stat contenders who have the possibility of being the dominant force and taking the NBA Iron Throne this week. The guys that are out there, the potential people that you can vote for. Giannis, of course. Kawhi, stud. But how about maybe some surprises? It is Game of Thrones. Chris Middleton on the list and Pascal Siakam on the list. I'm going with Giannis. I'm going with the Greek Freak. And part of it is because the guy's a magical player, which is why he's riding on a dragon instead of actually sitting on the throne. Can't stop a dragon, and you can't stop Giannis. At least that's my take. You may feel otherwise. We're going to put a poll out there. And before we see who wins the trial by combat tonight in Game 1 of these Eastern Conference Finals, go and vote on my Twitter handle, SportsReiter, Sports Reiter. It's now time for a very special guest to join the show. I'm really excited, sort of. I actually hate the guy, but he's nice enough to come on. Smokin Jay Cutler here on the program. Jay, never thought I'd see you back on the show. I guess I owe you a welcome back.
Ryder, you suck. I'm back. Oh, my God, Gay's doing it.
Yeah, that's certainly why we're having you on. Adam Gase, gets the job as the Jets head coach, and the GM who entrusts him with the opportunity loses his job. Gase getting all this power. What do you make of your buddy? You were his groomsman, or he was your groomsman? I can't keep track of it all. Your former head coach really elevating himself at the expense of his former GM.
Yeah, told him all he knows. Get a job. Take the job. Get the person who trusted you fired. Yeah. Destroy everything. Smokin Jay Cutler. The old playbook.
No, destroy everything, Jay. It's great to see you haven't changed or mellowed in retirement. I guess lastly for you, since in theory you're an analyst for us here on the show, this is really not about Adam Gase. It's not about you. It's about the Jets. How is this going to pay off for this New York Jets football team going forward?
Whatever. I don't care about the Jets. They'll lose. Blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. Smokin Jay Cutler. Take it all down. Burn it to the ground.
Yeah, that as a Bears fan, I can attest to that. You don't care and you do burn it all down. Thank you to Smokin Jay Cutler for being on the show. Let's move from a loser, which is what Smokin Jay Cutler is, to a winner, if I do say so myself. It's time for Bill's Big Bet of the Day. Those cheers, 18 and 13. Warriors covered, baby. Give me the Raptors plus 6.5. I think the Bucks win the game. I think it's a close game. I think they're feeling each other out. I'm taking Toronto lukewarm on this one. We'll be back tomorrow to let you know how that goes, to talk about that conference finals Game 1 in the Eastern Conference. The good folks down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, taking over right now on CBS Sports HQ. Thanks for hanging out.